our former Director General Secretary Irene M. Isaac. Ma'am, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Ida. Good morning, Director Patty, Director Janet.
Morning,
and good morning,
ma'am.
to all the participants who braved the rains and the winds in the south. And good morning, maligayang Pasko sa mga inaantok pa kasi maagang nagsimba. It's the first day of Christmas, actually. But let this session be some sort of a gift for everybody. As Director Patty said, this is something that has always been in the work plan, and it is a gift that we are starting in the first day of sharing. Let me start with a share screen. Now, do you see my screen?
Yes po, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes,
thank
ma'am.
you.
Yes,
Thank
yes
you.
po.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Please don't be bothered by the dogs in my neighbor. So let me go back. The ASEAN Guiding Principles is an endorsed instrument of the Association of Southeast Asian, sasabihin ko sana neighbors, is an instrument of the ASEAN. It has been endorsed by the Association of Labor Ministers. It is a project of the Senior Labor Officials Meeting. And the Philippines has been an active participant in the formulation of the guiding principles. On the screen, you see the icon. It is not really an icon. It is the cover page of the document itself. Sorry, teacher, kasi ako, ayokong may estudyanteng sumasabay sa akin. Can you please mute your audio? So, this is an endorsed document. And so, while it is not binding on all of us, it is an encouraged document. And as Director De La Rama said, we have to strive to show that we are at par with the guiding principles and with the practices on competency assessment and certification among all the ASEAN nations. As it is, our processes have been recognized through the pilot implementation. And so they look up to us, our 7 other AMS look up to us as aligned to the guiding principles. And so it is timely that we start with the test the seal of integrity, and let us be serious about the alignment and showing our neighbors that alignment. Actually, the implementation of the ASEAN Guiding Principles is a series of activities and a series of filling up templates, instruments, and the basis of all of this is the different sections of the book. So here, inside this cover are 6 sections. And so section 1 is just an overview of National Qualifications Framework. All of you are familiar with the Philippine Qualifications Framework. And so section 1 is putting together all the National Qualifications Framework or the National Qualification Systems for the AMSS who still do not have their QFs. The second section is overview of competency certification systems. And so here in this program, the certification systems as a key component of human resources development in the ASEAN is highlighted. You'll find that sections 1 and 2 in the book, which has been forwarded to those who registered, are already the old versions and it is needing updating. Now, section 3 is a is just an overview of quality assurance as they are all over the world. Now, section 4 is important, is the most important section for all of us for today's purposes. The section 4 is about guiding principles and protocols for quality assurance for competent authorities and for providers of assessment services. Competent authorities are defined in the book as those who administer competency assessment and certification, and those who are the authorities for the development and promulgation of competency standards. In some countries, they are not all and the same. While in TESDA, the competent authority is solely TESDA by virtue of Republic Act 7796. In the other ASEAN states, the authority for development and promulgation of competency assessment, of competency standards, and the authority for assessment and certification are different. And those differences are always respected. And that is why section 4 is important, because it has to show everybody this is our system. And so there are varying factors for section 4. Now, provider of assessment services is our key topic today. And there will be a discussion, and I mean discussion, this is not a lecture. There will be a discussion of provider of principles and protocols for providers of assessment services. And as Director Patty introduced, the AGP and especially the guiding principles and protocols are the key basis, the foundational basis for the test, the seal of integrity. Now, section 5 is also important. Section 5 is about guiding principles and protocols for recognition of competency certification systems. While in section 4, we will be talking of the guidelines. This is our assessment system, but it does not end here, because section 5 is about getting our assessment service, the Philippine Tibet Competency Assessment and Certification System, or PTCAS. Section 5 is about getting PTCAS recognized in the whole of ASEAN. And so we will concentrate on section 4 so that we can get into section 5. Now, section 6 is just an addendum. There are also references to different activities that gets us to parade our PTCACs within the ASEAN. So let us go through the details. AGP1 is about developing the instrument, the book, and getting it approved in the ASEAN. The second part of it is benchmark, pilot implementation of the benchmarking activity. This was an instruction of the Association of Labor Ministers who said, okay, we agree that the principles will have to be there, and we agree that the proposed principles and protocols are endorsed, but next step is to put it through pilot implementation. So the pilot implementation was called AGP2, and the pilot implementation was participated by volunteer AMS. You have the Philippines, you have Malaysia, you have Indonesia. The ASEAN labor ministers were happy that they got 3 volunteers whose assessment and certification systems are mature systems in themselves. Now, the benchmarks, we call it benchmarks, comes from Section 5, or the guiding protocols for recognition. What are the requirements for recognition of competency assessment and certification? So the benchmarks comes from Section 5, the guiding protocols. The guiding protocols, number 1, require that there will be the skills and competency assessment and certification system is described in a single report. This is a copy of how it is written in the AGP book. The second benchmark is that the responsibilities and legal basis of the competent bodies are clearly determined and published by the competent body. So, first here is really a pinpointing and specification of who are the competent bodies in each and every participating AMS. The third is the procedures for assessment and skills and competencies and awarding of certificate are described as officially published, which means that when you write it as a benchmark, when you write the report for the benchmark, you have to be writing what are officially published. And this is no problem with the PTCOX, because PTCOX has published, PTCOX is published in websites and flyers. And then here there is a demonstrable link between the qualification levels denoted in the certificates, as in NC 1, 2, 3, 4, and diplomas issued, and the NQF level descriptors. It was good that the pilot AMS, Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, already have endorsed QFs. And so the linkage of the certificate levels to the NQF levels have already been done in the AQRF referencing. The next requirement is that the quality assurance system is described. And again, the quality assurance system for Philippine qualifications and for TVET qualifications have already passed the scrutiny in the ASEAN qualifications reference framework. Now, the next is about collective undertaking, that it is not only for TESDA, it's not only for CO, nor is it only for TESDA to do the benchmarking activity, but it will help to national inclusion, national participation, even requiring independent participants that are experienced in quality assurance. And then, the guiding principles for recognition, system of sovereignty, comparability, transparency, and continuous improvement are underscored in the report. So that's those are the benchmarks, or that is the basis for writing the benchmarking report. As required in Protocol 1, there will have to be a single report. And so the benchmarking report comes in this format. The skills, competency, assessment, and certification of the AMS is presented in Section 1, the governance structure in Section 2. Section 3 is a more detailed presentation because it requires the procedures for assessment of skills and competencies and awarding of certificates and diplomas per Section 4 of the guiding principles, including the basis for officially promulgated skills competency standards used in developing the assessment packages. And again, this was not difficult for the Philippine team to do because the qualifications and standards in QESO and the PTCACs have already outlined the procedure, have already completed the procedures, have presented this in the AQRF, in ISO, and importantly, in the Philippine Quality Award. So it was not easy, it was not difficult for the Philippine team to present the alignment. Then the link between the qualifications levels between NC 1, 2, 3, 4 and diploma and the PQF levels 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 already is published in other documents. Section 5 is about quality assurance, and Section 6 is participation of stakeholders in PTCACs, development and implementation. And Section 7 is about, Section 7 is about participation of all stakeholders in the benchmarking. Now, imagine that the benchmarking report in that format has been written. The Philippine team was composed of Director De La Rama, Director Aimee Taganas, Ms. Tina Aquino of the TIBFI. TIBFI and Dr. Tina Aquino because the pilot qualifications for the benchmarking for the 3 volunteer AMS are in the tourism trades. And so the description of the processes and the description of the standards were focused or were highlighted in baking and cookery and front office. Now, the report has been written. It is progressive. There were 3 trilateral workshops, which means that at that time we can still travel. We had to go on face-to-face workshops, mostly in Jakarta. We were supposed to host the 2nd trilateral workshop, but then the flights were affected by the eruption of Taal volcano. And so we had to go to Jakarta again. So that was almost the start of the pandemic. So the review of the benchmarking report was done internally by the 3 teams. The benchmarking report of the participating AMS was reviewed through a peer evaluation system, where the process allows the improvement of the report in an iterative learning and clarification process. Comments are presented by the reviewers from the project team of each AMS, and findings are used to render judgment on whether the benchmark are met or not. So twice we had to present, sorry, when I say we, I mean the Philippine team. The Philippine team would send the draft to the 2 other AMS, Indonesia and Malaysia. That gives them time to read through and write their comment in a benchmarking report template. There is a template also for this. When we get to the meeting, then each AMS would present their comments, and the others may ask questions. Why do you comment like that? What improvement can you suggest to us? So it was a peer evaluation system that was very useful for continuous improvement. This is the sample of the template. There were key points, and the process is, do you say, is the key point met? If yes, what are your comments? If no, what are your comments? While the response of a yes or a no is provided in a separate column, all reviewers are encouraged to provide comments that will sustain the spirit of sharing and collaboration and in continuous improvement. This is an example of a filled up benchmarking report review template. And so you'll have overall comments on the report and the yes or no comments in the key points. So it looks like this, but then as many key points as you have, then you'll have more pages. This is also, so you see that there are comments here. This is not about the Philippines, I think, or about the Philippines. Anyway, so the comments column were very useful. And as you go along, you get to know what the other AMS are looking for. So it is not a one-time, not a one-shot deal. Now, there is another instrument that we had to go through. We want to be sure that the alignment to the principles and the protocols are not just claims, but they are claims that are based on evidences. And did that affect my audio? Hello.
Okay lang, ma'am.
Okay, thanks, Ida. There is the matrix for the alignment of benchmarking report. On the left column, on the first column, there are the principles. And on the next column, you'll find the areas of alignment which are lifted from the book itself. Now, here you have governance. The areas of alignment is what you are looking for. And so the AMS that is writing the report will say, the evidence that clearly documented governance arrangement and practices to provide strategic directions, etc. The evidence in the Philippine report is the quality assured Philippine TESD system. Also in the evidence, it is required that you say what section and what pages so that the reviewers can easily find the evidences. I used this page because I want to show that there were blanks that the Philippine team left in the matrix. And so for accountability, it was left blank. And so this became issues in the review. And so this is another instrument that we had to go through. Now, let me go to section 4. Section 4 is about the guiding principles for providers of assessment services. I skipped the guiding principles for competent bodies. Actually, in the ASEAN meetings, we were talking more about competent bodies. But here, for today's purposes, we will be talking of the principles for providers of assessment services. Number 1, governance. I hope you had time to go through the soft copy that was sent to you. And this is section 4. The first principle for providers of assessment services is governance. Number 2 is accountability. Number 3 is transparency, independence, confidence and standards, continuous improvement, proportionality, and flexibility of services. In the initial meeting, the Philippine team said, ano yung proportionality? I have to explain that the original writer of the book is an Australian, and so you'll find some of the terms as more Australian than ASEAN. Now, so these are the 7, right? 7, 8. These are the 8 guiding principles that are the basis of the test, the seal of integrity for assessment centers. Let's go through them one by one. And I suggest that as we go through each of this one by one, please pay attention because I'd like the next part of this to be a discussion. I was talking with Director Nenet de la Cruz and I said, pakisabi sa participants may recitation because this is also calibration and it cannot be calibration until all of us are discussing and all of us are participating in the understanding of the principles. So let's go through the principles one by one. Governance. Do I get a volunteer to read and share your thoughts about governance? Pag walang nag-volunteer, magtatawag ako like a grade 1 teacher.
Okay, any volunteer po from the participants? Sorry, ma'am.
Ako si Mr. Dr. Orola of Region 1. Administrator Carlitos Orola.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Magandang umaga po. I will read it. Providers have clearly documented goals and objectives, governance arrangement, and proving measures to meet the relevant competent bodies requirements and legislation. They should have the financial resources necessary for its operation. Ang tinatanong niyo po is our experience, is that correct? Ma'am?
Not necessarily your experience, kahit hindi nyo pa na-experience, ano yung sa tingin nyo kailangan gawin so that you can meet the requirements. Ano-ano yung kailangan to show alignment to governance. This should be it,
Alignment.
because ito part of the requirement for accreditation. Anyway, yes,
Yes,
Dr.
okay.
Orola.
Ang sagot ko po, I'll try if this is correct.
Go ahead.
I have to document written form, not only saying form, our goals, our objective. It should be in writing, documented, and put in place for inspection. Arrangement and probably measure to meet relevant competence body requirement. I have to align this to double check with the regulation of the TESDA, and in short, the guiding principles of ASEAN's quality assurance. I should be familiar so that we can align. As to the financial resources, I hope we can have. Thank you. Yun lang po.
Thank you. Very good, Dr. Orola. And I should say, it cannot be I hope we have. You can say I wish I can have more, but I am sure that you have, because you couldn't have been an assessment center kung wala yan. Thank you. Now let's go to the next. The next is accountability. Can I have another volunteer, please? Oh, wala na akong nakikitang nag-open ng. Can I ask Dr. De La Cruz to name names?
From kalimutan ko pangalan. Dr. Obinya.
Dr. Obinya, thank you. Taga anong region si Dr. Obinya?
Region 2 yata, boss.
Very good, thank you, Dr. Obinya.
Si Mr. Lee Katane.
Oh, si Lee Katane, my favorite. Lee, good morning.
Tandaan ko, favorite mo yan, boss.
Oo, si Lee. I was regional director in Region 10, and so kilala ko si Lee. Oh, asa na si Lee? Lee, can we talk about accountability? Sigurado nyo, nandito si Lee, di ba binabagyo sila? Ninit, wala yata si Lee.
From 4A.
Mga favorite ni Dr. De La Cruz, Regional Director of 4A.
The Administrator of PTC Rosario. Yeah, Marlon.
Good morning, Marlon.
Best PTC.
Yeah, okay. Very good. Congratulations. The regions of Director De La Rama and Director Nen. The region of the two directors.
Nandiyan ba siya?
Wala naman bagyo sa Rosario. Ninit,
Bakit hindi
Wala lahat.
mga lang, nakabukas lang ang camera, ang Zoom, pero absent.
Director Janet, mag-roll call.
Absent yan.
Absent ang mga hindi nag-a-acknowledge.
Sige, ma'am.
Slow connection na po.
May I ask Ida to ask everybody to open their cameras, please.
Okay.
Sabihin mo, Ida, picture taking muna.
Opo. Let's open po our camera. for the picture taking and also para po makita ang inyong magagandang mga mukha. Hello po.
Yeah, wala nang... Baka nasa schools competition ang maraming tao.
Yes, ma'am, may closing po kasi.
Mamaya pang
Or
gabi ang
mamayang
closing.
hapon.
Ay,
Ay,
mamaya
gabi.
pa.
Gabi nga 7 o'clock.
Oh,
Yes, yes, boss. Good
So,
morning,
ayan.
everyone. May we
Hello po, good
request
morning.
each one to open yung camera po.
Ayaw lang nila na mag-recite kay ma'am siguro.
Kita mo, di ba si Dr. Okay lang siya? It was not,
Oo.
wala na.
Actually, ma'am, we have 236 participants na po.
So where are you guys? Open
Yeah, ikaw-
your
Ikaw na
cameras.
mag
Good morning.
Sino yan? Good morning.
Mahina ang net.
Sige po.
Sino yung bukas ang microphone? Sino yung bukas ang microphone? Kung sino man yan ang magre-recite.
Camera lang po ang ating open. Sige,
Hindi,
mama.
yung bukas ang microphone siguradong nandiyan, kaya tawagin mo para mag-recite on accountability. Nakikita kasi sino yung bukas ang mic. Siguro pinatay niya.
Hindi ko po nakikita dito sa akin.
I-click mo yung iyong participants.
Oo.
Okay po.
Wala, naka-close na lahat.
Naka-close po lahat
Pinost na,
eh.
ma'am.
Plus
Ano
5
ba,
points pag mag-recite
Oo.
Oo. May di ba sabi ni Director Rama, merong good news kanina. At the end, there will be good news. Oo,
Sige ma'am, meron dito po
Ito,
mga naka-open.
merong naka-open na camera. Edward Ramos. So siguradong nandyan siya kasi bukas ang camera niya. Region 2. TTI Administrator Edward Ramos.
Yeah.
There is also Rebecca Edanio.
Sir Edward.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Alberto Dino. It does not have to be TTI administrators. Some of those representing assessment centers are welcome also to participate and share their understanding of the principles.
Okay po. May we call...
Bangkong. Ida.
Yes po.
Hello.
May we... Sir Edward, kayo na po ba yan? Sir Edward?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. Good
Ayan.
morning, Sir Edward. Let us go to, yan, sorry. Can we go to, sorry, I just need to go back. Accountability, Sir Edward. Can you read and tell us your thoughts about accountability?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Accountability, it says that providers monitor and evaluate their practices and performance against the competent bodies, set requirements, and using client stakeholder feedback. Providers should ensure that results of quality assurance and quality review activities are publicly reported.
Thank you. So, how do you ensure that you have accountability in your assessment center?
Hello, ma'am? Oh, sorry po.
If you want, mag-discuss tayo in our language. Hindi ko lang maintindihan kung Ilocano ang i-explain mo. But let us talk in Filipino kasi di ba the native language is the language of the soul. So mas magkakaintindihan tayo, magtagalog na tayo. Ano yung accountability?
Ma'am, sorry po, choppy po yung dating dito kasi nawawala po signal namin.
Problema yan. Anong TTI yan?
Nueva Vizcaya Polytechnic Institute.
I see.
Pinas po. Pinas.
Yeah.
Nueva Vizcaya.
So, choppy pa rin.
Yes, ma'am. Naka-off yung mga camera, ma'am. Naka-open lang ako nung...
Hindi, sige. I-off mo na yung camera mo para marinig ka namin. Audio ka lang para maririnig ka namin. Nakita ka na namin. Gwapo ka pala eh. Alisin mo na yung camera mo para hindi choppy. Malinaw naman yung kanina nung nag-read ka. Yan. Okay. We will hear you.
Okay, ma'am. When we talk about accountability, lahat po ng mga activities related to assessment should be open for public, should be reported publicly.
Okay. Correct. Yung una, merong hinihingi pa, Edward. Monitor and evaluate their practices and performance. Anong masasabi mo dyan? How do you monitor and evaluate?
So lahat po ng mga pinaggagawa doon during the conduct of assessment, kailangan pong naka-anchor doon sa mga requirements set in the conduct of competency assessment.
Very good, Edward. What do you do about pag nakatanggap ka ng feedback galing sa nag-assessment or sa nag-apply ng assessment? What do you do with the feedback that you get?
Of course, ma'am, we have to act on it. Kailangan tingnan kung ano yung pwedeng gawin nang sa ganun ay yung feedback na yun, lalo na kung negative yung feedback, kailangan correct po.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Thank you, Edward. As Edward was saying, number one, yung kasing results ng quality assurance and quality review ay publicly reported. Parang mahirap sa atin yan, pero yan ay requirement for accountability. If you're accountable, kailangan alam yan ng mga stakeholders. And then number two, sabi nga ni Edward, kailangang minomonitor niya na yung mga processes na ginagawa sa kanila, sa kanyang assessment center, ay nakatama dun sa requirements noong PTCAPs. So thank you, Edward. Can we now move to the next?
Ma'am, additional po doon sa accountability.
Very good, Mr. Balisi, my friend.
Yes, ma'am. Sa assessment kasi po, ma'am, mayroon kaming pinapapirma na performance evaluation instrument.
Okay.
Mayroon kaming pinapapirma sa mga client natin na performance evaluation instrument at doon natin mamumonitor ang mga feedback ng ating mga client. Yan po sa assessment.
So, anong ginagawa sa assessment center mo? Paano nyo kinukumpile yung lahat ng nag-gather nyo doon sa mga evaluation sheets?
Ma'am, pino-forward namin sa provincial office yung performance evaluation instrument and the provincial office, sila na po ang nagre-review. At
Okay.
kung meron silang nakitang findings, ma'am, ko ibabalik sa amin for improvement.
Okay. I can imagine na yan procedural. Requirement yan sa mga provincial offices. Kasi may requirement din na yung provincial offices minomonitor yung mga assessment centers. Correct. But in this case, ito, principles for providers of assessment services, which means ang accountability rito, tinitingnan kung ginagawa nung assessment service. So you have to look into this and tingnan nyo na kayo rin, kayo mismo, ginagawa nyo. You have to continue submitting to the provincial office. But then, you as an assessment center will also have to look at the monitoring and evaluation based on those forms. It is good that we have the forms and that it provides direct feedback. So thank you, Ben. Thank you, Mr. Balisi. Are there other comments on accountability?
Irene, good
Ma'am,
morning.
hello, ma'am.
Yes.
Good morning, ma'am. I'm one of the. I am currently representing Ma'am Shane Balisi because she is currently in the Philippine National Skills Competition. But with regards to the accountability, ma'am, because I am one of those who processes the accreditation of the assessment centers. In terms of this accountability, ma'am, I am the one who is responsible in looking at their documents, if it is complete or whether their documents are their submitted documents are correct. Now, if their submitted documents are if there is a lacking on their submitted documents, or if it is incomplete, I will then inform them of this lacking documents for them to comply. And if they have complied this one, then it is up for me to create a memo forwarding that said the application for approval to the regional director, ma'am.
Okay. It is a very important function that only those who are qualified according to the criteria go into assessment. And
Yes.
so, pag kanino mo i-forward yung action mo?
Ito po kasi, ma'am, pag binibigay ho kasi ng provincial office sa amin, sa regional office, yung submitted documents ng assessment center po, ma'am. And
Okay.
then, yun po, pag kompleto po yung document, it is ready for approval of the regional director, ma'am. But yun nga po, kung incomplete nga po yung document, ibabalik ko po sa provincial
So you
office.
are in the regional office.
Yes, ma'am.
So
Of
itong
region, opo.
pinoprocess mo, application of candidates pa lang ito.
Opo.
Ibig sabihin, merong nakalusot dun sa assessment center. Bakit napunta sa'yo?
No,
Kompleto.
ito po, ma'am. Hindi naman po, yung iba po kasi, ma'am, is nagkulang lang po sa date, yun lang po. Kaya tinatanong ko na lang din po, pinifeedback ko na lang po agad para ma-comply po kaagad yung requirements, ma'am.
How are you able to correct such konti-konting problema? Just the same, there are infractions of the rules.
If there are infractions, ma'am, then I am nagda-draft po kami ng memo, ma'am. We draft a memo.
Sino memo ninyo?
The provincial office, ma'am. The provincial office who had forwarded the said application po.
Okay, very good. Thank you for this intervention kasi this points out to the process. Right? Ang dami ng dinadaanan nung accountability. Dumaan sa assessment center, hindi kompleto. Pinadala sa provincial office, hindi pa rin kumpleto, nakaabot pa rin kay RD, nakaabot pa rin sa ORD. So meron taong kailangang bantayan yan. And so this is an aspect of quality assurance na first time, tama agad para hindi maraming effort, maraming processes ang nasasayang. Thank you very much. Can we have your name?
This is Carmelo T. Kamayang po, a job order from Regional Office, Region 2 po. That's the Region 2 po.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kamayang. And thank you for being diligent in performing your work.
Thank you rin po, ma'am. Thank you po.
Now let us
Hello,
go. Yes?
Hello, ma'am. Add-on po ako doon sa accountability, kung pwede, sa Region 7 po,
Okay.
TTI Bohol,
Okay.
from Bohol. Kasi yung sinasabi po ni Sir kanina, ang parang ang ano niya is yung accreditation application po ng assessment center. Parang ganun po. Dahil po ang procedure kasi
Center. Hindi, balikan natin si Mr. Kamayang. Siya ba ay, ang sinasabi ba niya yung accreditation of assessment center o yung application for assessment? Mr. Kamayang.
Good morning po ulit. To clarify po, it is the application for accreditation as an assessment
Okay.
center po. Opo.
Pero
Thank you po.
just the same,
Sige
yung
po.
process pa rin, dalawa na ang nadaanan, and yet, umabot sa regional office na kulang-kulang pa rin. I mean,
dahil ma'am, kung makabatin po ma'am, dahil po kasi ang na po sa OP ng CAC is kapag ano na po yung documents, pag magsasubmit po ang mga assessment center or magpa-renew or may new applicants, evaluate po yan ng focal or ng provincial director. Diyan po ang
correct. And yet, hindi niya nakitang may mga
kasi po
kulang.
ang nakasaad sa OP. Pero ang ano po yan is, ang liability po diyan is from the PO CAC focal dahil doon pa po na-evaluate po in-evaluate po nila yung documents but pinaano pa nila sa regional office dahil ang approval po kasi ng accreditation this time since 2020 is the regional director na po ang mag-approve ng mga accreditation from assessor and assessment center.
Correct.
Previously kasi PO lang po ang nag-approve.
Again, babalik ko yung tanong ko kanina. How do you correct that the action of that person in the provincial office? Ngayon ba nalulusutan pa rin siya?
Kung sa amin, kung dito sa aming region, ma'am, ang ginagawa kasi namin, meron po tayong tinatawag na letter notification na pinapadala doon sa mga assessment centers na nag-a-apply kung may mga kulang silang documents. Ganun po ang ginagawa natin. Then, mayroon ding timeline doon kung ilang days po nila gagawin para hindi ma-forfeit yung kanilang application.
My issue is not about ang nagkamali yung assessment center. Merong proseso doon sa provincial office na dapat sila nag-correct.
Opo.
May tanong ako.
Kanina.
Ito muna sa tanong ko. Meron akong tanong kanina. Ang sagot mo, nagagawa kayo ng memo. Mini-memo nyo yung provincial office. Yung bang memo ninyo, copy-paste?
Ma'am, can I butt in po?
Hindi, sandali. Gusto ko lang malaman yung copy-paste. Pag mini-memo nyo ba, kung ano yung memo nyo nung nagdaan yun ulit ngayon?
Hindi po.
Hindi po, ma'am.
So you always compose a new memo?
Yes po, ma'am. Based on the findings.
Based on the findings. Pero hindi nila mapapansin yun pag marami silang So, I just want to be sure na hindi copy-paste. Okay, can we have the comment from Region 7?
Yes, ma'am. Kasi yung sa assessment center, kung accountability po ng assessment center ang tinitingnan natin, base po sa ating procedure, ang amin lang pong ma-monitor and ma-evaluate is yung candidate, the application po. Okay.
So, our
from those
ang
ano, ma'am?
yung action nung assessment center, correct?
Opo, ma'am. Ang action kasi po namin, kapag may mag-a-apply sa amin as a center administrator at the same time assessment center manager, ini-evaluate po namin isa-isa yung mga candidates, yung nag-a-apply. Kung valid ba, kung may pwede ba silang ma-assess sa qualification na gusto nilang in-applyan, or hindi valid dahil kulang po ng yung mga documents na sinubmit. Ganun po. Then, kung during the time of assessment, tayo naman po sa provincial office, sa assessment center, nag-ano po tayo, meron po tayong tinatawag yung ano ni SEC ngayon na meron tayong ang lahat ng ginagawa ng assessment center, ang provincial office, kung ano po ang during the conduct of assessment until the pagbibigay po ng result. Then po, ma'am, kung usapan po natin yung pagbibigay ng report sa public, ginagawa po natin is yung lahat ng nakapasa during the time sa assessment is pinupost po natin yon sa ating bulletin board para makita po nila kung sino yung nakapasa lang po. Ganun po ang ginagawa natin.
May tanong lang ako. Babalik ako sa term na accountability. In that case, in your whole story, who is accountable?
Sa amin is ang assessment center manager po, ma'am. Okay,
very good. So, that is the accountability of the assessment center manager. Now, two raised hands from CAR and from Region 1, but can I go to the next and call you to recite on the next principle? Otherwise, yung susunod na speaker, naiinip na siya that I'm taking so much of her time. The next is transparency. Now, can I have Administrator Recaide of Region 1 to read what is written about transparency and give us your thoughts about transparency?
Good morning po, ma'am. I'm Miss Stella from Region 6 po.
Sorry. Okay.
Okay. So transparency, providers have accurate and clear information in relation to their assessment and support services for clients. So in my own opinion, in this section, it means that there should be completeness of information. Its assessment activities, including all documents and other reports, must be readily available. We have data privacy. We have Circular 84 about CCTV monitoring, and consent of the learners or consent from the candidates is important for them to fill out because of the CCTV monitoring. So I think before they will take the assessment, it should be properly articulated to them as to the assessment activities, and also the documents during the conduct of assessment should be readily available in the assessment center. Like we have the application form, the SAG, other requirements needed for assessment like COVID-19, consent forms, and letter request for assessment, the appointment of the assessors, the tester rep, and attendance sheet. That's all.
All of them are readily available pag may nagtanong. But
Yes.
what information do you put out publicly?
The schedule of assessment and the name of the candidates po, and the result of the assessment after. But other information,
Yung SAG, di ba available din yung SAG sa TESDA website?
yes po. Sorry, yes.
Always publicly available.
Yes po.
Baka lang kasi hindi na-explain masyado, but the SAG is readily available.
Yes
So,
po.
malinaw ba sa publics nyo na pwede namang hingin yung datang wala sa website pero pwedeng hingin?
Like application for assessment, SAG, other than that po, may restriction na po tayo because of the Data Privacy Act.
So, ang pwede lang makakita yung sarili may-ari ng information.
Yes po.
Okay, thank you. Are there other comments on transparency? Transparency, if
Yes, ma'am. May I add po?
yes.
Yes, this is Teresa from New Lucena Polytechnic College,
Okay.
Region 6. No? I think one of those na dapat transparent din tayo are the assessment fees. There should be a posting and list assessment fees that is duly approved by TESDA in the lobby of the TTI. We are posting that so that all who come to apply would be aware of how much are we charging, the correct and the prescribed fees that is duly approved by TESDA.
Thank you. A very good, very important point, Madam Teresa. Yes, thank you. Now, can I go to the next? In the next is independence. Can I have the administrator from the Cordillera? I saw your hand earlier. Sorry, I did not get back to you earlier. The administrator of the Cordillera TTI.
Good morning, Ma'am Irene. This is Annie of RTC Baguio.
Okay.
I am the CAC focal, Ma'am, not the administrator.
Okay.
But anyway, independence providers ensure that they conduct their services like assessment with impartiality, with avoidance of conflict of interest, and ensuring independence of decision making, especially assessment outcomes and decision.
Okay.
So, in my own opinion, when we say independence, we should not be dictated by other parties, but instead we should follow the process because we have a process. And of course, in avoidance of the conflict of interest, our trainers should not be the assessors. So because that is also included in the rules. And then of course, ensuring independence of decision making. Well, the decision when it comes to the result of assessment is always dependent with the assessor. So we could not dictate the assessor since they are trained to be assessors, and that they should be, of course, their decision is based on the standard. So nobody can dictate them.
Okay, very good. Yes. This is independence of decision making, and the assessors will be allowed to do their own decisions. What happens if nakita nung assessment center manager na mali yung ginagawa ng assessor?
Ma'am, can I answer?
Si Mr. Baliti.
Homer from
Okay.
Homer. Kasi ma'am, meron din tayo yung mga assessment center manager, ini-evaluate din nila po yung assessor. But if na makikita po ng assessment center manager or ng TESDA rep kasi kung mali na po yung ginagawa ng assessor, i-call po nila yung attention ng assessor na to follow what is really in the standard.
Can
Kung hindi,
the assessment manager and the rep call the attention right away, or is there a prescribed procedure
Yes.
for that?
yes po ma'am, dahil nag-o-observe po sila kasi dun sa assessment po during the time of assessment.
So it can be corrected right away.
Yes po ma'am.
Pero the converse of that is independence against nakialam. Are there instances na yung TESDA rep nakialam? Yung bang TESDA rep na train like an assessor?
Ma'am, may I again, si Annie po ulit.
Ani.
In reality, ideally, ma'am, dapat ang TESDA rep should know the process of the conduct of assessment. Ideally. Ideally, dapat lang ma'am na ang TESDA rep na isa-send is alam niya yung process ng assessment and should also be aware that he is there or she is there to see to it that the process the conduct of assessment is in accordance with the process.
Okay.
So, yes ma'am. So tama po kayo ma'am na yung sinasabi nyo na dapat yung TESDA rep alam niya yung process ng assessment so that if in case there are deviations, then he could call or she could call the attention of the assessor.
Most of you or most of those who are here are administrators, which means you are the center manager. Can I get comments from center managers? Do you allow the TESDA rep to go directly and correct the assessor, or is that the job of the center manager?
Can I say something, ma'am? Good morning.
Sino to? Can I have
Carlitos po, Region 6. Yes, yes, I think it's the TESDA rep who will make some correction to the assessor. Then likewise, it was already written that even yung mga assessee, they can always file a complaint in case there is a discrepancy in the assessment of their assessment of their training in assessment. For example, driving in situ, 22 students failed. After 22 students failed, they can always write the provincial director and appeal on that. And then in my opinion, the provincial director will also investigate these things if it is true or not. So in short, I believe, in my opinion, that the representative is there to make sure na yung ginagawa ng assessor is tama and correct. Besides that po, meron dito sa amin sa Region 6 na may command center na tinitingnan din po ng Region 6 namin ang nangyayari sa assessment. And then ang provincial office namin may command center din na audio at visual that they will observe. So yun po ang nangyayari.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I just want to demonstrate that independence is a tricky principle to follow. That there are so many factors that go into independence. Thank you. Can I go to the next? This one. Confidence and standards. Can I have a volunteer for this? Bakit biglang wala na akong volunteer? Can I have somebody to read and explain this? Hindi ko kasi nakikita yung gallery, kaya makikita ko yan sa ano. Pag hindi kayo nagsalita, I will volunteer you. There is Daisy Joy Salera. Can we have Daisy Joy Salera? Hindi ko siya, hindi niya ba tayo naririnig? O ayaw niyang mag-report? I will call on somebody else. Devlin Tumampil of St. Gabriel College. Can we get Devlin to read and share your thoughts regarding confidence and standards? Anong region yung St. Gabriel? Ang hindi re-recite ay absent.
Wala na naman. Absent.
Janet, ang daming absent. Nasa Skills Olympics.
Ito nga, boss, may message ako sa kanila. Wait lang, ma'am. Meron tayong ano dyan.
Take note lang, secretariat. Kung
Yes,
sino
ma'am.
yun.
Otherwise, I will ask somebody I know to just help me read.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. Good morning.
Region 6, may I volunteer?
Okay, you can have your name.
Very good.
Region 6, Miss Stella Ricaido po.
Okay. Yes, Stella.
Doon po tayo sa ano bang
Sorry.
section po yun?
Competence and standards.
Okay. For confidence and standards, providers have processes and practices that ensure that services conducted by themselves or on their behalf met the required standards and expectations. Provider processes and practices should provide the competent body and its stakeholders with assurance that individual achievement standards have been met. In my own understanding po, in this case, it's about maintenance of quality standards. No, we have in our school, we have internal quality auditor that periodically conduct an audit as to our quality policy and procedures on the standards of assessment, whether we follow it or not. And then it was brought during the management review meeting. And then all areas that has been noted, if there is an improvement, should be improved. And at the end of the assessment, we have customer satisfaction survey other than those conducted by the OP itself, yung PEI. The AC can have their customer satisfaction survey po at the end of the assessment to ensure that the services they conducted is within customer satisfaction level and test the standard po. Yun lang po.
Yes, thank you. Very good. Thank you, Ms. Recaido. Tama ba po?
Ma'am, may I add po?
Oh, yes, please.
1G po from TESDA 4A po. BTC kayo.
Favorite ni Director Nene.
With regards po sa confidence, I think po, the assessors the assessors po before they conduct and before they are being accredited as assessors were undergone po dun sa calibration po na tinatawag natin for them to have the confidence in conducting and implementing the assessment. Ano po? Also, to have the trainees or the candidates have the confidence with the assessors, the NC2 certificate of the assessors and the accreditation of the assessors were posted po at the workshop area na po. So that to gain po the confidence of the candidates. With regards to standards, assessors were oriented that the assessment should be within the standards of the TESDA, of the CATS po, na yung kanilang ikakonduct na assessment should be within the standards implemented, and also before the assessment, orientation, muna yung mga candidates on how they will be rated and how they will going to meet the standards to pass the assessment, and ensures po the confidentiality of the results of the assessment to the students, and also explain the appeal, that they can appeal whether they have any complaints po or issues with regards dun sa conduct po ng assessment ng assessor. So, yun po. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Very good, Banji. You have a comprehensive explanation of confidence and standards. Thank you. Now, the next principle is continuous improvement. Do I get volunteers? This is something that we've all been doing. Can I have volunteers? Now you have 250 participants. Can I have one of 250 participants?
Good
Hello po, ma'am.
morning, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes. Mr. June Ray, can I have your full name, please?
Hello po, ma'am. Irene, I'm Junrey Inohardo from the TESDA POC Bukak Focal po. Let me be the volunteer. Continuous improvement. So provider processes and practices balance compliance requirements and continuous improvement processes to ensure that their services meet stakeholder and client needs. So as what I observed as a CAC focal for almost two and a half years, most of our assessment centers are not good in terms of monitoring with their services in their what we call is in their vicinity. They just what we call is doon na nila makikita yung mga mistakes nila, yung mga faults nila during the compliance audit conducted by TESDA. So I always suggest them to them, the assessment centers, that every year there should be what we call this a process wherein they have to monitor their own standards and the industry standards for especially the clients, because when we talk about the clients are the one who will see the mistakes that they have, or the wrong things that they do na hindi po na meet sa standards, doon po talaga makikita. So as sasabihin natin sa kanila na accept those things is because we're providing quality assessment. So there should be yan po yung every requirement po namin na dito po sa Cebu, let's practice po. Let's practice create your own monitoring scheme, or what we call is a compliance team within your vicinity for you to give those things po. Just a simple what we call this plan PDCA cycle monitoring. Plan, do, check, act regarding on their processes po. Mas maganda po kayang kasi para po during the compliance audit, wala na po silang during the compliance audit of TESDA, wala na po silang mga problems na ma-encounter during that time.
Thank you,
Yan
John
lang po,
Ray.
ma'am.
But how do you ensure na yung mga feedback na na-generate nila ay ina-actionan nila?
That's a good question po, ma'am. So with regards to that matter po, meron po tayong mga dito po sa TESDA po, meron po tayong complaints and committee po. So if in case there is a complaint regarding any process of the conduct of the assessment. So nakalodge po yan dito sa PO. So we will check within the AC if they did the right thing or did they act regarding those matters para po hindi po lumaki yung issue. So how do we check them? So the first thing to do is to check with the clients if the assessment center did really contact them or have something to have a win-win solution regarding the matter. Most likely a black and white document must be presented para po meron pong evidence po si AC na ginawa talaga nilang action yung mga problem po. Much better if meron ba tayong customer feedback satisfaction survey pagkatapos ng and every if there are complaints regarding the matter, if how did the AC conducted the complaint on their own level po. That would be the best response.
Thank you. Thank you very much, John Ray. Let me go to the next.
Pwede ka.
Hello, ma'am. Good
Yeah.
morning. Can I add more?
Okay. Go ahead.
This is Ronald Igueron from Region 4B, Oriental Mindoro.
Okay.
I just want to share, ma'am, on our province, we do the calibration and moderation for the purpose of continuous improvement. On that way, we can solve some problems or issues and concerns that our assessment center and at the same time assessor encountered during their actual assessment. On that case, yun mga problem na na-encounter namin sa assessment center, so with the assessors, is napapag-usapan, and then we do some actions, and at the same time, napapagkasunduan ano ba yung mas magandang proseso para ma-attain natin yung mas magandang serbisyo ng mga assessment center. At the same time, masunod natin yung assessment center operation manual, kung paano natin ito ma-implement ng mas maganda at may iwasan natin yung mga issues and concern and problem that probably encounter in the near future. Yun po ang ginagawa namin, ma'am, dito sa amin.
Okay, very good, very good.
Ma'am Irene, pwede ka dagdag kunti.
Go ahead.
Good morning po, Carlitos po, Region 6. Sa simple na pulong po, itong continuous improvement, pag kumakain ka ng adobo, i-upgrade mo naman, kumain ka naman ng litson. Pag Apple ka dyan ng computer, i-upgrade mo naman sa Huawei. Dahil China na tayo ngayon. How do we improve what has been improved? In my opinion, ma'am, we consulted the industry kung ano ang kailangan, like Chamber of Commerce in the province. The Chamber of Commerce, in dialogue with them, you improve your training, your assessment na ganito na ngayon ang ginagawa sa industry. So the next assessment, na-improve mo na because of the feedback from the industry na gagawin natin. Principle of competency-based trading po yan from the industry. Next po, housekeeping. Example po, pag housekeeping in situ, i-upgrade mo sa, I've heard from Mindanao in Davao, na ang kanilang housekeeping po, dinagdagan nila ng basic electricity. Yung lang po, kailang oras na basic electricity at housekeeping. Upgrade, improve what has been improved. Dito po sa amin, gin-improve yata, gin-upgrade or continuous improvement ang aming assessment. Ang aming mga assessors po, they have an association and lately they have a calibration. Nag-meeting po sila under sa leadership po ng aming provincial director na lahat po ng mga assessor dinadahan na dapat uniform ang kanilang calibration or when they inspect the assessment. So yun po, improve what has been improved. Thank you.
I will remember that. Ang improvement ng adobo ay lechon. Okay. Proportionality. Ito yung sinasabi kong hindi natin term na ginagamit, but let us try to understand proportionality. Can I have a volunteer? Can I have a volunteer? Proportionality. Fit for purpose. Magtatawag ako ng volunteer.
Hi, ma'am. Good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Yes po. This is Christine po, ma'am, of Artesc 4B sa Mimaropa po.
Okay.
I volunteer po to read.
Yes, please.
So po, proportionality. Provider quality assurance and quality review approaches are fit for purpose and focused on ensuring quality outcomes. Yun
Okay.
po.
Can you share your thoughts? Ano ang sharing mo dyan sa proportionality?
Yes po, dapat po talaga yung quality po ng outcomes yung parang main main goals in our trainings po. Dapat quality po talaga siya, and yun po, yung quality po kasi depende yun kung ano po yung training na ino-offer natin. Katulad po, based po sa experience namin, no, kasi po sa agriculture po kami, ma'am, sa farm school po. So nung nagkaroon po ng pandemic, no, medyo nahirapan po talaga yung karamihan sa mga training centers to adapt, kasi po mostly po mga blended learning, yung online po. Instead na dati po kasi yung agriculture dapat hands-on po yan siya, ma'am. Kasi experience po talaga yung agriculture. But yung nagkaroon po ng pandemic, no, we should really be flexible po to adapt to the changing times. But at the same time po, let us commit to still give quality education po and training po sa ating mga scholars and participants. So yun po yung proportionality for based on experience ko po, ma'am.
Okay, maraming salamat. Let us go to the next. Eto, pag-usapan natin ito. Flexibility of services. Can I have a volunteer, please? Ano yung flex? How do we ascribe ourselves to flexibility of services? Can I have a volunteer? Otherwise, can I ask SDS Maria Elena Toyko to please read and share?
Good morning po. Good morning to all of us. Although it's already windy here in our area in Caraga, particularly in the province of Surigao del Sur, but we will try our best to be safe.
Are you in school? Are you still in the school?
Ma'am, I'm in the office, ma'am, at the provincial office of Surigao del Sur. We still be in the office because we were able to feel safe here in our office rather than in our portion where our apartment is located.
Okay. So, now let's hear you, and I hope that the whole day will be safe for you. Go ahead.
Thank you, ma'am. So I am the provincial CAC focal of Testes Surigao del Sur. So in this flexibility of services, so providers ensure that barriers to assessment services for national or international applicants are minimized. So it means that as part of the conduct of competency assessment, it was noted that we have to provide also flexibility of the conduct of assessment. However, it should not hinder, or it should always be based in the standard as prescribed in the competency assessment tool. So maybe there will be a flexible activities to be undertaken, but it doesn't mean that it will hinder what is said in the standard or prescribed in the competency assessment tools. Maybe perhaps for personnel during the conduct of assessment, the assessor will have to inform the candidates before they will have to take the assessment that there will be flexible activities, just like if they are going to have in the case of the religion, that they will have to pray in a certain time, but and also together with during snack times or lunch time, but the assessor and the AC manager at the same time, the TESDA representative will have to consider that the standard will not be sacrificed or will not be hindered in the implementation. So I think that's what I understand with this, ma'am, relating to the flexibility of services.
Yes, thank you very much. And thank you for clarifying that flexibility of services is not the end all and be all. That there are those that you can do to minimize barriers, but then thank you for saying that still the standards are there, in that the assessment process will have to keep to the prescribed procedures and standards. So thank you very much. Please keep safe, and I hope that your family, your dear ones are also safe where they are. Please keep safe. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, ma'am.
Those are the principles. Now, section 4 is about principles and protocols. So I will move to the next slide because the explanations are there. The protocols are companions to the principles. You have the principles, but then there are protocols and procedures. So I will go through this briefly. I will not ask you to recite because I am 30 minutes beyond time. But here it says a provider documents and implements a quality management system to ensure that it provides quality assessment services. I understand that certification to a QMS by an external body is not a requirement for accreditation. Just the same, it is expected that an assessment center practices quality management system. Pareho nga ito nung sabi ni Director de la Rama, ang tanong ko bakit pag wala bang seal, walang integrity. We assume that all the assessment centers have integrity, but it is good to have a seal that you can always say, I have the seal, rather than always explain your claim. So here you have bullet points on what should be quality assured, and I hope that these are all parts of the criteria for the seal of integrity. So I won't go through them one by one because you will be discussing the criteria. The second protocol is a provider takes responsibility for all assessment services undertaken on its behalf. This should not be a problem because the assessment centers are not allowed to subcontract the work, so that the provider is always responsible for its actions. Number 3, a provider implements access and equity strategies in the provision of services, like inclusive entry requirements. Na-solve na ba yung mga problema ng rampa para sa wheelchair? Or na-solve na ba yung translation nung SAG, yung self-assessment guide are written in English in the TESDA website? Tinranslate nyo ba yan? So, merong mga access and equity strategies that are required in the accreditation process. And it should not be difficult for you to present them in your application for that test the seal of integrity. The next is a provider implements processes and practices to ensure that they are impartial and free of conflicts of interest. We had a long discussion on this. I am sure that you are clear on free of impartial and free of conflict. Number 5 is procedures to minimize barriers to assessment services. Providing assessment at regular intervals, that the fee is reasonable and transparent and does not restrict access. Ngayong merong kakao, we have minimized the fee, the restriction on access relative to fees. Number 6, a provider establishes protocols for maintaining communication with the competent body and other providers, as well as participating in benchmarking activities. I'm happy that many of the CAC focals are here and have taken interest in the seal of integrity. I'm happy about their active participation. And that is what is needed in number 6, maintaining communication with the competent body. Whether this is a public or a private assessment center, maintaining communication with the competent body is always important. Number 7, a provider takes responsibility for the maintenance of its compliance with the quality standards. Sabi nga nung isang nag-share kanina, huwag hintayin na dumating yung external audit, that within the assessment center, take responsibility for the compliance with the quality standards. Let me just go to the last portion of the AGP story. The AGP is a long process, and it took so much for the 3 volunteer AMS to convince each and everyone that yes, we are compliant with the principles. Again, we had the benchmarking report, the peer evaluation, you have the matrix for showing compliance to the principles. Now, there was in the AGP2 monitoring and implementation. It was not enough to have written and provided in writing the evidence for all the claims. There was a physical, this was already a virtual, but there was a process of monitoring and implementation. It was originally designed to be face-to-face, physical, but inabot na kami ng pandemic and we had to redesign to be able to do it online. And at the end, while there was some difficulty in adjusting, we were able to conduct monitoring and implementation. And this is important. It is not only that you write about it, it's also important that you show it, you demonstrate it. And so, in the AGP, the monitoring and evaluation covered from step 1 to step N. So the coverage of the AGP monitoring and evaluation starts from monitoring and evaluation in the writing of the benchmarking report and in the peer evaluation and mapping the alignment to the principles and protocols. Also, the consideration and endorsement by the National Senior Labor Officials meeting at that time, the Philippine senior labor official was Yusek Claro. Sorry, Patty, I forgot the surname of Yusek Claro. And so it was a requirement as part of monitoring and evaluation that the national senior labor official signs off all the reports, which means accountability. Meron tao na nanindigan sa lahat ng claims ng Pilipinas, ng Philippine AGP team. And then, there was a self-assessment process using a self-assessment template. So, bago dumating yung external evaluator, may self-assessment na ginawa yung team according to the template. I'll show it to you in a little while. And then there was the virtual monitoring process. Sorry. There was the virtual monitoring visit by a monitoring visit team and using the monitoring report template. The monitoring visit team was composed of 7 people, 2 from each of the AMS times 3 equals 6 plus myself. I was there only to provide advice, but most of the decisions were made by the monitoring visit team. For the Philippines, Director De La Rama and Director Taganas were the ones whom the Philippines nominated to be in the monitoring visit team. And from the 2 other countries, you have members from as highly positioned members of the team. Then you have the monitoring template. So part of the documents that were part of the monitoring toolsets, again, you have the benchmarking report, the self-assessment matrix for the evidences of alignment. You have the signature of the national senior labor official, then the virtual monitoring visit report. The international consultant and the validation team submit a report on the activities validating the benchmarking report as it applies to implementation of competency assessment and certification in the pilot occupation. Let me just relate to you the story of the assessment teams. If you have Director De La Rama and Director Taganas, you had as equally collect assessors or evaluators from the 2 other countries. I should have a better word for collect. I should say they equally diligent and equally expert on assessment and certification. They were all director levels. No, sorry. Madam Nurhida of Malaysia is not yet a director, but she's utterly familiar with assessment and certification and with evaluation and monitoring. Bakit? So, this is the format of the self-assessment report. So, each of the AMS will submit a self-assessment report that takes care of all the key points of competency standard, competency assessment process, assessors, scoring, test development. All of those are key points. And so here I have an example of how the form looks like. You have a key points. It is a question answerable by yes or no, but it is not enough to say a Y or an N. The self-assessment report will have to be clear about what are the, where are the evidences. Here, the evidences is in the ASEAN Guiding Principles Assessment folder, which means there is a folder that puts together all the requirements per key point. You'd notice that here, most of the evidences were written in their language. And so it became doubly difficult probing the answers in the visit. So if you see it as written, then you mark which ones you want to ask when you go online for a visit. So the evidences are clear. They will have to show where they are. They have to show how you assess. They are assessed in the websites of the competent authorities. And then there are remarks to explain if there are further clarification on the evidences. So that is self-assessment. And then there is the monitoring report template. Again, there are questions on the key points. It's answerable by yes or no. It is based on the self-assessment in how they are explained when the external evaluators come. By the way, there are 6, 2 from each country. So there are 4 external evaluators, and the 2 from the country that is being evaluated sit with the external evaluators. They cannot vote, but then they will be there to explain if there are questions on before their decisions are made. So a yes or a no, and comments why it is a yes or a no. And I don't know, I found that the process of monitoring and evaluation, because there were very good evaluators, was a process that I'll always remember. I've gone through, I was quality manager in TESDA, and I've gone through a lot of audits, but that process of monitoring and evaluation in the 3 AMS was something that is a model for monitoring and evaluation. And we were lucky to have been part of that process. This is an example. This is an example of how the Malaysians explained their process and what kind of monitoring and evaluation they want to see. So there is a question: are the competency standards for pilot occupations presented as statements of knowledge, skills, and or competence linked to the NQF? And so the explanation of the process of evaluation that the Malaysians did is something that they presented in the red boxes. So they have a step-by-step process of determining if the competency standards presented are really statements of knowledge, skills, and competencies. And so again, as I said, it was an experience in itself. And I hope that the process for the evaluation, the monitoring and evaluation of the external evaluators will be as clearly procedural as can be. So that is the end of my presentation. Congratulations for the initiative to align to the AGP. And congratulations for the test, the seal of integrity. Really, I congratulate you and I present my best wishes. I would not say good luck, but my best wishes for all of you as you undergo the process. In terms of responsibility, in your hands lie the term integrity on every national certificate issued by TESDA. Thank you very much.